We love Maryland, but we realize it's not for everybody, and eventually you come to retirement and you might want to move out of state.
We understand that sometimes Maryland doesn't have the best tax implications for the retired folks. So we get that, and we talk to people every day who are thinking about that downsize and where they're gonna move. And we found out when we were looking through some of our own research and stats that 40% of our downsizers last year actually moved out of state. So that's a big number, and we wanted to talk to you in case you're in the same situation and you're thinking, we love Maryland, but it's time for us to go somewhere warmer, go somewhere that has better, financial options for us. So we know the playbook. We helped a lot of people do that last year, and we wanted to share that with you. In fact, in one case, one of our sellers netted $137,000 more than what they were expecting when they were working with another firm or when they were doing their own math. We'll get to that story later on and show you exactly how you can replicate the playbook that gave them absolute top dollar when they were making such a big move.
We're gonna go through everything top to bottom, like what it looks like, so that you can make a smooth transition out of state.
At the end, if you have any questions or you just want to skip to it, we have an ultimate downsizing guide and a white glove service that goes along with it that shows you exactly what we do to help you downsize and move in or out of state. So just send us a message there and we'll get that right over to you.
On the flip side, if you're looking to buy into Maryland, we're gonna go over some of the places where you can expect some of those downsizers to come from.
So like we said, if you're thinking about making a move and you want an idea of out-of-state relocation guide, which can talk about tax comparisons, cost of living calculators, and our exclusive agent network. We have partners in every single state, so if you're moving somewhere, we have someone there that can help you. Just text MOVE into the comments and we'll make sure we get that over to you by the end of the video. So let's talk about where our favorite clients left us and went. And by the way, when we're in town, we're definitely gonna come see you because you guys moved to some pretty nice spots.
Obviously, and it's no surprise that Florida tops the list. Everybody knows somebody that has lived in a place for a long period of time and has gone to Florida.
What's not to like? It has a little bit of everything. There's tons of options and tons of different price points and tons of different lifestyles. So it's a big state, has a lot of options. Like we said, we have partners in every area of that state. So Florida, top of the list. Number 2, not surprisingly, North Carolina. And
take your shirt off. For all my millennials.
And North Carolina is interesting because we actually find people who are a little bit younger. This isn't necessarily the retirement crew. This is the crew that maybe has kids who are at the college age and they just want to be somewhere that's accessible and has a great lifestyle. So while we have the downsizers, we also have kind of like those mid-sizers.
One of the good things about North Carolina is that they are building a lot of single level living for folks. So whether that's for a downsizer or for just a traditional family, they're doing a ton of that building there. So it has become a very popular spot.
This one is surprising in some ways and not surprising at all in others, which is Pennsylvania. So in that 40% number of people who moved out of state, it was actually including some of the people that we have that just moved right across the line. You guys know that we're licensed in Pennsylvania as well, and it's because that 83 corridor just pulls people right above the line for various reasons. But Pennsylvania has a lot of tax havens that Maryland doesn't, and people really like that. So these are downsizers because they can still be close to their friends and family who are in Baltimore, especially if they have like younger grandkids, but they're getting a much more affordable cost of living, and there are a ton of 55 plus communities right over the line. So for Mike and I, that Pennsylvania mover is usually somebody who still has family in and around Maryland and they just want to get right above the line, and we have a lot of options for that. We are the Lennar preferred partner, so all of the new construction that goes in right over there we have absolute access to, and we'd love to share that with you.
This is probably no surprise either. It's Texas. Texas, obviously the largest state, and a lot of different options for housing. You can go live on a ranch, or you could live in downtown Dallas or downtown Houston. There's so much to do and so many places available in Texas, not to mention all the building that is being done in that state. You also have no state income tax and a lower cost of living. So put all those together, you have a lot of retirees going down to Texas.
This one was a little surprising, but we did see this trend when we looked through it, and that's Tennessee. It's actually emerging as a top choice for Maryland. I think part of that reason is because, like we've told you in other videos, Baltimore is a Southwest hub and so is Nashville. So it's really easy to get between the two. So if you do have family here, but you still want to just have a little bit more room to breathe or better options for living, it's an easy, less than 2-hour flight back. So I think people really take advantage of that. And you get a lot of house for your money. And there's so many emerging areas outside of the main towns in Nashville that are just popping up in popularity. And when I look at the communities that they're building, they're very amenity rich. They are built for somebody to be able to live a very luxurious lifestyle for a lot less money. So I'm seeing that as like the next Texas, where you would see these huge, gorgeous developments with a ton of amenities popping up. I'm seeing that in the outer skirts of some of these big Tennessee cities. So we had one family this last year, and they sold their Towson home with us last year, and they moved actually to Raleigh. So this was one of those Mid-sizers that we talked about. They ended up receiving 7 offers on their house, and on their Maryland property. They sold for $45,000 over listing price and over their expectation, I might add. And then they bought their North Carolina house, and they were able to buy that under market down there because there was more inventory in the area they were looking at, and it was actually a new build community, so they were able to negotiate that differently with one of our preferred realtors down there who was able to get them such an exceptional deal. So that's the power of working with agents who have a nationwide footprint. We can actually always connect you with somebody in our network wherever you're moving. And the other nice thing about that is we were able to line up their timelines. So they were selling up here and they were moving. There was no overlap. There was no paying mortgages twice.
One move.
One move. Very seamless. And we worked hand in hand with their local agent in Carolina to make sure everything was really great. And that's what we do for everybody moving out of state.
So you may be wondering, okay, well, people are retiring. Okay, yes, but what are the reasons why they choose to retire and take their life elsewhere?
We talked about this already, but taxes. Maryland's combined state and local taxes are 8th highest nationally, and I heard it's about to uptick again because they just put different tax limitations on our houses. So that's a big one, and that's where people who need to really live on a fixed income in retirement, it becomes a little less affordable.
With that comes all of your retirement planning. So if you're watching this and you are a potential downsizer, you've probably worked with your advisor on what retirement looks like in that process, right? So we don't have a ton of 55 plus communities here in the state. So maybe that's an option for you, and that's what you want, and that's what you want to be in, so that you're more, have more of a social life, not just out in a cabin in the woods. Getting into a state where there are more communities like this are extremely advantageous for the downsizers that we're seeing here in Maryland.
Last year, a lot of the moves that we looked at when we dove into our stats were moving for remote work. They were able to work from home or have more flexibility there. That has since changed, and we're seeing people being pulled back to the offices, so we'll have to see how that looks in the future. But if you have a job that's remote, a lot of people are saying, okay, well, if I don't have to go to the office, I can live somewhere that I'm truly excited to live. And that's where we see some of the Sun Belt, and that's where we see some of the out west options with a lot of outdoor activities. And we've talked in the past, Maryland has a little bit of everything. We don't have the best of anything. So if you really want that mountain life, or you really want that lake life or that beach life, there's people who are going to those areas where they can really do those activities they love in abundance.
That is specifically important for those downsizers that are maybe on that 5-year window. So maybe they've got maybe 5 years or less of work left. So they want to maximize the return on that amount of work. So going to a state that has no state income tax can be really advantageous.
Thinking about relocating to Baltimore? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've linked it all down below.
From top employers to best hospitals and a boatload of other things, all the stuff you'll need to know before making the move to in and around Baltimore. The best part, this guide is entirely free. Just click the link in the description at the top pinned comment. Hope this helps. To further that point, we have the cost of living. So we know what the cost of living is here in Maryland. Be sure to check out our video on the real truth of the cost of living here. Going to a state where the cost of living is just a lot easier and a lot cheaper. It makes tons of sense.
Whether maybe you hate 4 seasons, or maybe you're like me and you get seasonal depression every winter and think about moving to Florida. A lot of people are just like, look, I want to live somewhere warm where I can be outside all day long. And for all of you who do that, I can't wait to come visit.
There is nothing that can replace a good amount of vitamin D.
So if you're thinking about this and you're like, you know what, Kelly, that sounds great. I do want to move to Florida. I am seasonally depressed. That's awesome. What's next? You can text us, and we'd love to tell you what your home is worth. I think that's a very good place to start. If you right now take a minute and go on Zillow and go on Redfin and type in your address, you are likely going to get 2 different values for your home. And everyone wonders why. They're working off of an algorithm that only has so much information. They don't know what updates you've done. They don't know what your house smells like. They don't know what your neighbors are like. They can't tell how sought after your specific street is. Those are all things that you're going to need a local expert to help help assist you with, and we can do that. So we can dive in a little bit further even without seeing your house and give you a really good idea of, hey, on the market based on today and what we're seeing, this is what you would get for your home, and more importantly, this is what you would walk away with, because it doesn't really matter what your house sells for, it matters how much money is coming back to you. So we can help you with that. We do that all the time. Just text valuation or send us a private message and we will work with you on that.
So if there are people leaving, that means that there will be inventory for people to come into the state or move within the state to a new home. So what does this mean if you are a buyer and there are downsizers leaving the nest?
Based on our research and based on some statewide data that we have pooled, the people who are leaving are in these main sectors: education, healthcare, and government. So we want to look to the areas that employ a lot of educators, government, and healthcare. Those are going to be the areas where there might be some opportunities. Let's dive into it.
So number one on that list is Howard County. So Howard County is kind of like this miniature DC transplant, where so a lot of people that are working in the government sector or the IT sector, just straight up in DC, are choosing to live in and around Howard County. So Howard County checks all of those boxes in terms of the education, healthcare, and IT.
Baltimore City is another one. There's a ton of healthcare options there. There's people that are coming in to do their residencies, coming to work, nursing, all of those types of things. Those jobs are sought after across the nation. So if somebody's looking for a change of scenery, hospital jobs and healthcare jobs, they're so prevalent. They bring so many people into Baltimore, but those people don't necessarily stay. And when they're ready to leave, it opens up opportunities for you to buy and invest in the city.
Then there's Montgomery County, right? So this is the I-270 corridor. Essentially heads directly into DC, right? So we have all of our IT jobs, or not all of them, but the majority of the larger ones are on that corridor. So Montgomery County, you can expect to see some significant growth because people have lived there a long time.
And the last one is Anne Arundel County. No surprise here. You have easy commutes into DC and Baltimore, just like the rest of these. And it's also really close to Fort Meade. So those government jobs that are on base, there's always some transition going there. There's also new construction in that area. So two things that are going to create a little more inventory, perhaps in parts of Anne Arundel County than some of its surrounding competitors.
Now we're going to talk to you about how we make these transitions so smooth for our folks looking to downsize.
Downsizing can be hugely overwhelming. Most people that we've worked with have been in their house 15 years plus by the time they are ready to downsize. So if that's you, even if it's less time than that, you've accumulated a lot of stuff. What do you do with it? So we have a white glove service that will come in and help you decide what you're leaving, what you're keeping, and how to manage your items and where they're going next. So we create a complete timeline with a Rolodex of professionals who have been vetted by us that takes you through each step of the process of what do you need to do to move? What do we need to do to prep your home for sale? And what do we need to do to find your next home? We line up all of those timelines in a very clear manner that we all agree on, and then we work towards that. We handle everything on your behalf. We pay for everything on your behalf until closing. So you really don't have to lift a finger, and you really don't have to worry about the overhead expense before you sell. The money is already sitting and tied up in your house. So we don't want you coming to the table with a ton of cash and stressing about what that's gonna look like. We have that handled for you because we understand, because we talk to people who are doing this every day, that that's a big stress point.
Kelly and I are part of a nationwide referral network where we actually meet and speak with these other agents. Unlike a lot of other folks where they kind of just go onto Zillow and look for a good agent and see what happens, right? So seeing what happens and assuming things are going to be okay usually doesn't work out. So we've actually spoken with, meet with, talk with, network with all of the agents that we send you to and work with in the various states.
And a lot of times we have great relationships with these people. We become friends with them because we enjoy working with you, they enjoy working with you, and we all stay in touch for a very long time. And a lot of these are repeat referral partners where they're sending us business, we're sending them business, and we're connecting our buyers and sellers with each other so that we can give you the same level of service that you're experiencing here in Maryland with the agent that you're going to be working with in another state. Because it works so well, we're gonna synchronize your closings. So we said this earlier, one move. We're going to make sure that by the time you're moving out of Maryland, you're moving into your next home in the next state, and you're not in limbo for any period of time, and you're not paying 2 mortgage payments for any period of time. Everything is lined up very smoothly for you.
There's nothing worse than having to move and then move again out of a temporary housing. So like maybe it may be a long-term Airbnb or a family member's home. There's nothing worse than going from one move that you're downsizing to and then again to where your final destination is. So we synchronize that, make it as easy and as seamless as possible.
Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm here with Mike as well. And as much as I love making these videos, there's one thing I love even more, and that's helping families and people from all across the country make a move here to Baltimore. I moved here about 20 years ago and I've never looked back. I love helping countless families make the move as well. So whether you're coming out next week, next month, or even next year, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is right here on the screen, and I've linked the description in case you missed the on-screen pop-up. Look forward to helping you and your family make the move to Baltimore. So if you're thinking about moving out of state, here are 3 things that you can do today. Number 1, get a relocation-specific home valuation. We can explain that to you. But with that, we are going to do number 2, which is a pre-listing consultation. This is basically going to be us coming into your house and saying, okay, now that I've seen it in real life, this is a more honed in amount that we think you'll get for it. And by the way, here's some things that we can coach you on to make your house sell for that top dollar.
And then number 3 is having a group conversation with our preferred partner in that state that you're going to. We don't leave it up to chance and hope that you guys connect. We're going to connect us all together. We're going to be on the same page to make that transition as smooth as possible.
So as promised, we wanted to dive into a specific example where one of our sellers was able to net $137,000 more than what they thought. This is what happened. They went on Zillow, they saw what they thought their home was worth. It was actually worth a lot less than we realized it was when we went in. There was a couple inaccuracies in what Zillow was reporting. There was a foreclosure on their street that was bringing prices down, and they had talked to another agent friend that gave them a low ball number, thinking it would be easy for them to sell. We went in and we assessed everything that was going on in the home. We were able to bring in some vendors and some contractors to do small cosmetic updates. We put in some updated flooring, some paint. Again, we managed that for them. We paid for those costs up front at no additional charge. And when we went on the market, they actually netted $137,000 more than they thought that they were going to be able to. That's a significant life-changing amount of money for this family, and we were happy to do it.
Look, this is probably your final move if you are looking to downsize from the home that you've lived in for so long, right? So we care deeply about this. We have parents in the same demographic looking to do the same thing. So we care deeply about what the process looks like for you, not only during, but also after.
And we bring up examples and actually numbers so that you can put behind how much that matters to us. We never want to see a homeowner leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table when there's no reason to. So we really love to be a part of that conversation early on. Even if this is 2 years down the road and you want to know what that's going to look like and start planning, that makes a lot of sense. This is a big move. So whatever your timeline is, whether it's 1 month, 3 years, reach out at any point. We'd love to share our guide with you, and we'd love to coach you through the process.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's Kelly, I'm Mike, and we will see you on the next video.